my friends, and welcome back to Be Again Books. I'm Kathleen, and today I'm beginning something new, or maybe something remembered, actually. I am thinking of this as kind of an autumn flashback series. I want to create a new journal, and I want to go back and draw inspiration from the pages and elements that I have loved in past autumn journals. And it's kind of a way for me to honor the past while making something fresh and present. So each page in this journal is going to be a little echo of something that I loved before. And I'm really kind of excited about this. I love autumn. Autumn has always been a season of memory for me. And so I just kind of love some of the things that I have done in the past. I like going back and looking at my past autumn journals. So this is kind of the palette that I have for this journal. So I've got this pretty plum colored Reader's Digest book, and I'm still trying to decide whether I want to do like some mixed media painting on it. I might, or I might just leave this pretty color. It's got kind of a texture to it. I will at least do a collage on the front probably. But this paper kind of is what I'm using as the palette. This pretty plum color, this golden yellow, and this green. It's got a lot of different colors of green, from mossy down to like pine green. And then this really dark rose red. So I will have some kind of orangey yellows, but I'm going to try to keep the focus on the kind of the reddish rose as well as the purple, green, and yellow. So that's kind of the palette. And I have pulled papers for the signatures. But there are always, so this video is going to focus on the things that I have to do before I can bind the signatures. I don't know how you construct your journals, whether you do pages first and then do the cover last, but I generally choose the papers and make the signatures and bind the journal, and then I do the decorating and embellishing. So that's just kind of the way I have learned how to do it. So I have pulled papers, and these are the designer papers that I have pulled. And the reason why I have those out is because I sometimes have to do things to these. I'll get to that in a minute. One of the first things that I do, if I need to, is hinge. Certain papers, you want either to go a certain direction or they're not attached to each other. And sometimes we need to make a hinge to create a full spread so that can be sewn in. And these are two papers that I wanted to include. It's from a book on friendship. And I liked this pretty image of the flowers, and so I wanted to connect that with some of these other things. These are quotes about friendship, and so I had hinged those papers together to create the page. So that's done. That'll go in one of the signatures. And then the other thing that has to be done before I can bind sometimes is something like stenciling. So this is one of the designer papers that I'm using, this pretty plum colored rose print. And what I want to do, I have this folded up. What I want to do is a little bit of stenciling, so you can see that I've already done the coffee dye. And I think that I just want to bring some stenciling up underneath that fold, and believe me, it'll be easier to do it, you know, before we try to bind. So I'm going to put some green. I'm just using Distress Ink Forest Moss for the green parts of the design. And, you know, if I spill over it all a little bit, that's not going to bother me. And then I'm using aged mahogany for the flowers. So we'll just do a couple of bits along in there. We'll come over here and do the same thing. Do the flowers. And then we'll do the greenery. Okay, so that kind of makes that. And then let's just do some distress there on the edge. Okay, so that's now ready to bind in. All right. Then with these other pages, the reason why I pulled these is because I wanted to, one of the first videos that I wanted to flash back is all the way back to a journal that I made a couple of years ago in a collab, and it was called Field and Forest. I did in that journal, so I will link Field and Forest in the description box. I will also link the Moody Autumn, which was even the year before that, where I did some splatter on the pages along with some stamping, acrylic, just acrylic stamps. And I just liked the way that looked in the journal, both of those journals. So I will link those two videos below, and you can go and see how it turned out in those videos. But I really liked it, and so that is definitely, I mean, I can stamp once pages are bound in, but it's pretty hard to do paint splatter after it's bound in. So I like to do that first. So with most of these designer papers that are going into each of the signatures, I've already done that. So you can see that I've done the stamping, and then I've splattered with a little bit of gold and some darker brown paint. So those pages are now ready to go in the journal. And then there are a couple of other things. I plan on, in both of those journals, I did some napkin decoupage on some of the book pages. So each of these signatures will get one of these pages, and they will have these pretty leaves. I didn't do this ahead of time, but I will use these napkins to do some decoupage and also do some splatter. So that's coming up still. But there are a couple of other things that I wanted to prepare for this journal that I wanted to show you. So one of the things that I did in another journal that I made last year in the Leaf Dolls journal, I did this really cool kind of locking envelope flip, and it was with using the shorts that I had organized into the signatures. So usually among the papers that I put in my signatures, I will have these layered shorts. Yeah, you've seen them all the time. I do this because I really love the way these layered shorts look. In that journal, the Leaf Dolls journal, which I will again link below, so if you want to go and watch that, you can see how it has worked. I attached an envelope to the shortest of the shorts, and then I wrapped it around so that the flip came around and layered on top of the next page. And I think it's really effective. Then that way you can tuck other things behind and it becomes a tuck spot. So when I was pulling papers for the signatures, because I wanted to repeat this, then I had to think about and study how I wanted to organize these shorts so that I would have the ability to do this locking mechanism. Now, depending on how I arrange it and the size of the envelope I use, you have to get the right envelope for the right size. So this one, if I want it to go all the way around the full signature, that would be kind of short here. So I may need to find a bigger envelope that would fit around, still be able to attach here, but fit around, you know, the whole page. I hope that makes sense. I know you can see that in the journal that I made a year ago. So I have, for this journal, I have organized 2 bundles of shorts to attach into 2 of the signatures so that I can do that element. Okay. All right. And then, so I will also list the Leaf Doll video in the description. I have 2 other things I wanted to do. The one is in the Moody Autumn Journal, which is down below, and the other was in a long ago, maybe 3 years ago, autumn journal called Perfectly Peachy. That video showed that I did this offset kind of envelope sort of thing. So if I just take one of the pages and let's just say this is the center of the signature, then I would do this offset thing where I have this, and I do this a lot, not just in this autumn journal, but in a lot of my videos, I do this offset because I just like looking at layers. And so I create this smaller piece that is, you know, bigger on one side than the other. And then on the side with the smaller part, then I move the envelope over so that hangs over this side. And so this is the element that I have made for one of the center signatures, is this beautiful little envelope. And I have stenciled and smooshed and used that same stencil, and I have put this little fabric cluster here, and so that's ready to go now. Probably use this somehow as a journal card, but that's ready for the center signature of one of these signatures. And I have to do that before I bind it in, because otherwise it's too hard to decorate. And you can see that. Then the other thing that I have done on this page is some reverse stenciling, where I use the stencil as a print. I spray it and then print it, and I like the way that looks. So that also has to be done before. So that's ready to go. And then this is in the Moody Autumn Journal, which is again listed below. So I wanted to prepare this element. It's a center envelope flip, and I want to bind it in to the center like this. So because that needs to go into the binding, then I needed to do all the mixed media stuff that I did to it. So I deconstructed the envelope and dyed it with some sprays, some distress sprays, and then once I get it bound in, then I can glue it together again if I want. And then I have put just this little corner tuck on that. You can go see how that works in the Perfectly Peachy journal that I will have listed below. Okay, then another thing that I like to do that I haven't done for a while, this is also in the Perfectly Peachy journal that I made several years ago, and it's just, I call it a thru pocket, and it might get a better name at some point, but when I think of it as a thru pocket, because that it goes through the signature and then comes out on both sides. So you may have noticed that I do that. Anyway, I just think of it as a thru pocket. So it has to be created ahead of time. And I found this, I think it's amazing that I found in my stash this old piece of scrapbook paper, and the colors match just really well. It is, I don't know how long I've had it, but it was created in 2003. Yeah, so 25 years ago. And not quite, but 22 years ago. Yeah, it's from hot off the press and paper pizzazz. It was a tear out kind of scrapbook pad in those days. And so that brings back some memories. I mean, this is truly a flashback. Anyway, it's just been in my stash for all these years and I haven't used it. I coffee dyed it and I have folded it up. And if you want to just leave it there, then that's fine. You can just fold it in half and put it with, you know, the rest of the signatures and just bind it in. You can glue it on this one side. Sometimes you've seen me fold it down. I do that sometimes. But this time I'm going to create it as a true pocket. And so I'm going to, I apologize, I still haven't found my little bone folder thing. So I have to use a different tool. But I'm going to come in 1/2 inch and make a score And then I'm going to do the same on this side, 1/2 inch, and score it because I want to create just a slight gusset. I could cut both, just snip that. And fold both in. That would create, you know, a double gusset, but I don't think I need both. I think that I'm just going to do one side. So I'm going to cut, and then I'll glue and just have one. I don't think I need both. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut this off, and then I'll cut this side off, just on the inside of that score. And then I'll take my glue and glue this down. And I'll do the same on this side. Okay, so now I have a little bit of space here, and one of the things I like about these through pockets is they have a lot of storage potential. So yeah, they can hold a lot of ephemera. And the next thing I'm going to do is just do the little thumb clips, and I'll just put that together and do them all at the same time. So now I've got a little thumb notch, and that then just gets bound in to the signature with the rest of the papers, and I can use that as a nice pocket for tags and other bits of ephemera. So there's the beginnings of my new Autumn Flashback journal, and by next week you'll see the journal bound and ready to start decorating. So I'll do the first kind of quick flip through of the bare bones, and then I'll show some favorite past pockets and tuck spots and how I'm interpreting them for this journal. And I'm really anxious to get this bound now and start decorating. So as the light fades earlier and the evenings turn cooler, I'm reminded that autumn is a season that teaches me to treasure my memories. The journals I've made in the past years still kind of speak to me. And in this Autumn Flashback series, I get to listen again and see what new things I can do with old memories. So thanks so much for being with me. This is just the beginning. I've shown you kind of what I've got prepared, but in the coming weeks I'll add more, and we'll see what finds its way into this journal. I'll see you again next week.